Hi everyone, this is Seven Star from the Center for Self-Compassion, and this is the free online course, The Path of No Problem. This is video number 3 of that course. It's called Trust Yourself, Honor Yourself. So what does it mean to trust yourself? Well, we should first be on the same page about what it means to trust and what I'm talking about when I use the word self. So I looked up the word trust in the dictionary, and it says, firm belief in the reliability, truth, ability, or strength of something. So that implies that you're trusting something to have, to be reliable, or to have the ability or the strength in order to do or get something. So I thought that was kind of interesting because you're trusting it for some reason, for some other end product or end gain. And then the self, well, there are different ways to use the word self, which is actually the kind of the crux of what we're going to be talking about. Because most people put their trust in what I call the false self, meaning you're identified with your body and your thoughts, your personality, your things, your circumstances, and you put your trust in those things in order to get you something. Now, most people are looking in life for a sense of peace or contentment, or they may use the word happiness, or a sense of just being able to rest. And I want to point out that if you are trusting in the false self, in your identification with the body or the mind, the personality, with your accomplishments, with your possessions, or the circumstances of your life, if you're trusting in those things to bring you happiness or contentment or peace or a sense of well-being, you're going in exactly 180 degrees the wrong way. Because all of the effort to make those things, to perfect those things, or to make them good enough to bring you those feelings, all of that effort is the opposite of those feelings. All the work that you're putting in to trying to make yourself okay and make your body okay and your face okay and your job and your family and your things and all of the circumstances in your life okay are actually bringing you the opposite of what it is that you're hoping to feel by doing that. So it's kind of a trick that you're playing on yourself. What I'm offering is the opportunity instead to trust your true self, to trust your true nature. Trusting the false self, it doesn't work because, like I said, the effort of making those things, bringing those things to a state that will then, you believe anyway, bring you to the emotional experience you're looking for, that effort is actually the opposite of peace. It's actually making war, because what you're doing is you're saying the state of the body or the state of my circumstances or of my mind or my personality or who I think I am right now is not good enough. So you're actually acting against it. You're pushing against it, which is the opposite of self-compassion. It's the opposite of your true nature. True nature is being here now, being present with what is, loving what is, having compassion for what is. That's your true nature. And so if you're not doing that, you're saying no to this moment, you're rejecting what's here now, you're saying what's here now as you isn't good enough, you're actually making war on yourself and you're acting against your true nature. And there's no way that you can possibly feel good by doing that. It's like eating something that isn't food. You're working against the way that the system is designed to work. So if you are putting your faith in the false self. You're putting your trust in your mind and your thoughts and who you think you are, and trusting that to hopefully someday bring you the emotional experience in life that you're looking for. I want to say that it isn't your fault and there isn't anything wrong with you. We are taught to do this from very, very young age. And in fact, we're continuing to be taught to do it now, because everything around us is telling us that is what will lead us to the emotional experience that we're looking for. This is a lie that's being told to us all day, everywhere you look in this culture, in order to sell you products. So if you want to reorient your life, to be trusting, to be allied with your true nature instead, then it does take practice. Because again, everywhere you look, things are telling you and people are telling you to do the opposite. They're telling you that the false self is really you. It's all there is to who you are, and therefore it's the only thing you have to work with to get you to the emotional experience you're looking for in life. And again, doing that is just the opposite of what it is that you're really looking for. It's the opposite of peace. So I would like you to take a look at how you're doing this. Meditation is a word that a lot of people now use to mean a very specific thing where you're sitting on the floor in a certain way and you have your eyes closed and you're trying to empty your mind of thoughts or think about very certain specific things. And I want to suggest that actually meditation is something you're doing all day long, because you're repeating in your mind certain thoughts and you are kind of pressing a groove into your mind you have with these repetitive thoughts, and they become truths. They become, not true, but they become truths in your mind, and they become habits. And when you are telling yourself something over and over and over, this is meditation. So I would like you to take a look at what it is you're meditating on. Whether you think you have a meditative practice or not, it doesn't matter, because really you do. You have certain resources. You have physical resources and you have mental and emotional resources, and you're spending those resources on something all day. Now, are you spending those resources worshiping, following, supporting, freaking out over, trying to perfect, identified with the false self? Most likely you're spending at least some of your day doing this, if not all of it. So I really want you to take a look at the activity of your mind and see where your allegiance is. So what I'd like you to do is to write down these questions, and then I'll have you answer the questions. So I'm just going to read the questions, and I want you to write them all down, and then I'd like you to answer them. What do you put most of your energy toward? What do you spend most of your time thinking about? What do you spend most of your time worrying about? With whom do you spend most of your time? Doing what? And what do you spend your money on? Now, I'd like you to answer these questions, and as you're doing it, I want you to have in mind, what is the purpose of doing these things? Are they in order to bring you a certain emotional experience? What are you trying to get out of these things? Okay. So they can be all kinds of little things. So you spend most of your time worrying about your job or your family, or thinking about how you're going to get this or do this, or trying to make sure that you're exercising or eating right. What are the kinds of things that you spend your resources on? So there's a bunch of questions, and I'd like you to really think about this, so I'm going to give you a few minutes to write. Okay, now if you need more time, you can pause the video. If you are done answering the questions, what I'd like you to do is read over the things you wrote down as to what you spend most of your time, your resources, thinking about and doing. I want you to go over each one of the things and see, what are those things getting you? Is thinking about those things, worrying about those things, doing those things, is that getting you what you want in life? Is it getting you peace, contentment, acceptance, being present, compassion, love, or whatever other things you're looking for in life? Those are just some of the main big ones that many people name when they're asked what they're really looking for. So I want you to just go back over your list and take a look and see what each of those things are getting you. Okay, and if you need more time for that, you can pause the video. Now, I would like to talk a little bit about this idea of a successful life, because again, we're being told constantly by other people and by billboards and television and phones and news and pictures and all kinds of things all the time what constitutes a good life. And I would like to suggest that, again, it's 180 degrees opposite of what a good life actually is. So if you look at things that people write in personal ads or things that people tend to say when they're describing other people, they all have to do with the false self. They have to do with the body and the personality, the mind, the thoughts, the accomplishments, the possessions, the circumstances of someone's life. And in fact, all of those things, there's nothing necessarily wrong with them, but they're all the false self. They don't actually exist. They're all just a bunch of thoughts in a person's mind. So again, there's nothing wrong with those things. It's just that you're identified as those things, that those things are you, and when you're looking at someone else, those things are that person. And then you look at the totality of those things and judge them to see how good of a person you are compared to how good of a person the other person and everyone you know, etc., etc. I don't hear people talking about the things that really matter, such as, are you able to experience peace in each moment? Are you emotionally healthy? Do you know how to be with yourself? Do you know how to be with your feelings? Do you know how to show compassion for yourself? Are you able to show compassion to others, to feel compassion for others? Or are you spending a lot of time thinking about who you think you are and who you think everyone else is and who they think that you are, and comparing yourself to everybody else and judging and having your emotions going up and down all day because you're led around by this, because this is your God. This is what you worship. This is what tells you what you're going to do today and how you're going to feel today. Is that how you're living your life? Because there is an alternative. And that is not to trust the false self and not to trust your mind, but instead to trust your true nature, which is open, loving, compassionate awareness. So when I say trust yourself, you can trust actually your true self, not trusting who you think you are or who you think anyone else is, but trusting your true nature. Because in fact, your true nature is all the things that you say you want. It is peace, and it is compassion, and it is love, and it is contentment, and it is presence. So instead of looking for those things, trusting that some element or some aspect of the false self will bring you those things, instead you just trust those things. You trust stillness. You trust consciousness. So you trust that the right thing to do in each moment is to practice self-compassion, to practice compassion. All compassion is self-compassion. So in each moment, you trust the process of being here now, being open, loving awareness that's aware of the authentic self, and then the action that you take will be whatever arises as the need or want of the authentic self or the authentic self of another or authentic selves of others. Instead of relying on your mind to figure out what to do. Your mind is the creator of problems. Trust your true nature. Trust open, loving awareness. That's what I mean by trusting yourself. So again, you'll still be taking action, but you'll be taking what I call compassionate action. So you'll be paying attention to the self, seeing what is here as you in this moment, and then you will be moved by compassion to take care of it, to take care of the needs and wants of the authentic self and the selves of others. So now you can have a new definition of success in your life. And that is, do you trust yourself? Is your allegiance to your true nature? Are you emotionally healthy? And by emotionally healthy, I mean, are you able to be here for yourself and allow your emotions to arise and be expressed without acting in or acting out? Are you able to allow your emotions to be expressed and then therefore take care of yourself? So are you emotionally healthy in your relationship with yourself? And then exactly the same thing in your relationship to others. Are you able to be present with other people with an open heart and with compassion? And being present for them, expressing their authentic selves. And you do the same. So you're sharing and receiving. So this is your new path. This is your new job. This is your new definition of success. Not what you drive or what you have, or your face, or your weight, or your body, or your hair, or your kids' success, or your success, or your bank account, or your behavior, or any of that. That's all not you. You measure your success. You define your success by how are you being yourself, and not by not being yourself, as you previously have been. So what I'd like you to do now is, I'd like you to do a little math, and I want you to, let's suppose that you'll live to be 90 years old, which is a pretty good amount of years, a little more than average. So I want you to write down how many years does that mean you have left in this body, in this particular life path. So write down that number. And then I want you to multiply that number by 365. So now you can see how many days you may have left. And for me, it was something like 16,000, something like that. Okay, so you have that number of days. Now what I want you to do is I want you to think about what you want the quality of those days to be like. So most people, when they think about their lives, they think about what I'm going to do or what I want to do with my life. It doesn't really matter what you do. I don't want you to write down what you want to do, because you could be miserable doing any activity, no matter how fun it sounds. Right? I've been to many beautiful places, and there's a lot of miserable people in every place. It's all in the mind. So I want you to write down what you want the quality of those days to be like. Do you want to feel at peace? Do you want to be on an adventure of really getting to know yourself? To really getting to know the true nature of things more and more deeply. You want to experience contentment. What would you like the experience of those days to be like? I want you to go ahead and write about that a little bit. I'll give you a minute. Now you can pause the video if you need more time on that one. And now I would like you to think about what your life will be used for. So you have certain resources, you've been given certain things to use in this lifetime. You have a body to use, you have some possessions, you have some relationships with people, certain circumstances, the environment where you live, where you do your life, the planet, money, food, water. It's a huge opportunity. So what are you going to use all those things for? What are you going to let the universe use your life for? So again, you can use all those things to their own end to try to perfect them, to try to bend them to your liking in order to get a certain emotional experience from them. Or you can let them bend you so that you're letting go of all of your attachment to that false self, so that you're trusting yourself and not trusting things that don't exist to bring you peace, so that you're trusting peace itself. So I'd like you to think about two things. What do you want to use your life for? Your 15,000 days, or however many days you have. And what do you want your life to be used for? Now I'm going to ask it in just a little different way. The resources of your life are yours to give. They're yours to give to something. You can give them to, again, to that false self, to pretend relationships that you have in your mind, where your false self is relating to someone else's false self and you're not really giving or sharing or receiving. You can give your resources to those things. So the last question I want to ask you is, what do you want to give your life to? Okay, and certainly if you need more time on that, you can pause the video. Now, the last thing I'd like you to do is to make a statement to yourself of your intention. If you really want to make a change, if you really want to trust yourself and honor your authentic self, instead of trusting your mind, instead of putting your faith in the false self and the false selves of others. So I also want to say before this that this is your choice. I'm just letting you know that you have a choice. And even this is something that's really very lucky, because most people never hear about this and they don't even know that there is a choice. They really do think that the body and the mind and the personality and the stuff and the circumstances, that's you. And that's all there is, and there's nothing else outside of that. So they put all their resources into making that, into aggrandizing that, augmenting that, perfecting that. And their emotions are just going all over the place all the time. They're completely controlled by it, even though they think they're controlling it. They haven't heard about this. So now you have heard about it, and you do have a choice. And if you're interested in realigning yourself with your true self, with your true nature, returning to your true nature, then I'd like you to write an intention for doing that. So I will read an example, and you can feel free to use my example, or you can tweak it or change it or add to it or whatever, write whatever makes sense to you. So with the rest of my days, and you can write the number of days if you want, I want my life to be used for whatever you wrote earlier. I want to give my life to whatever you wrote. I am committing to trusting my true nature. I am committed to loving my authentic self and to compassionate action. I want to know my true nature more deeply and trust my true nature more deeply. So I'll read that one more time. And then, like I said, you can add to it or tweak it, change it. So it is again, with the rest of my days, I want my life to be used for or you could also say, I want my life to be in service of. Or another one that I like is, I want my life to stand for, what does your life stand for? I'm committed to trusting my true nature. I'm committed to loving my authentic self and to compassionate action. I want to know my true nature more deeply and trust my true nature more deeply. So that's what I have for today. Our Zoom meeting will be this Thursday, June 18th at 7 p.m. Pacific time, 7 to 8, and the Zoom link is in the course description. And I hope to see you there. Thank you so much for watching my video. And remember, you are not the self. You are the love that loves the self.